so that you get proper recording. Okay. Now, what is a project? Okay, when I say what is a project, what I'm saying is how PMBOK defines the project. It defines project as a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a product or service or result. Product, any software application is a product. If you talk about physically constructed 10-story tower, the example that I gave yesterday, it's a product. Service, if you start a toll booth, if you start what is help desk. One more example was, I think somebody, Nasir, I don't remember who exactly, was telling me that for operations and maintenance, if you are setting up a contract with your customer, physically executing the contract can be operation, but deciding the scope, deciding the other logistics, getting the requirements from customer about what type of operations, what type of maintenance, that can be called a project where you get actually a service. Operations or maintenance service is what you are offering to your customer. So you can say that this is a service type of project. One more kind of project we saw was result. One example I gave yesterday was feasibility. If you have a very big, very large project to be executed, you're not sure whether you will be able to complete it successfully. So before you start, it's a good idea to check if it is feasible, if it is possible to complete it. So whatever outcome, when you're checking if it is possible to complete, the outcome is a result of the feasibility project. So yes, that is a kind of project where result is the outcome. One more example, if I can give you, is if you remember those landslide Delhi elections a few years back, local government, Arvind Kejriwal is what I'm referring to. Even landslide is a light small word for what he did. So he took elections as a project. Result was what all of us know. So that's how a project can deliver a product, a service, or result. Now, when you are working on a project, what is it? When you are managing a project, what is it that you are actually doing? Okay, it's very well to say I am managing a 10-story construction, a tower construction project. But what am I doing? What says that I am managing a project? So whatever project management knowledge I have, I know about how to schedule a project. I know about how to freeze the scope. I know about how to manage in given budget, at least theoretically. So if I know that and I use that knowledge on the project, what I'm doing is I'm managing project. So PMI says having knowledge and applying it, applying the skill, applying the techniques that you know, tools that you know, so that the project gets closed successfully. You apply your knowledge, you apply your tools, techniques, tools like any software if you have, whatever you can do so that you close the project successfully. The efforts that you take towards closing the project successfully is managing project. We also saw that there are 5 process groups. That's what we discussed yesterday. Each process group, what did we say? We saw that each process group, you can think, each process you can think of as a set of actions. Multiple processes together make a group. So there are processes that help you in beginning a project. They are called initiating processes. Together, that's an initiating process group. Once the project is initiated, you start making plans about what is the work that you have to do, how are you going to do, how much time you will take, all that plans start after the project is initiated. So the action sets which help you in planning are called planning processes, together planning process group. Once the plans are ready, of course, yes, we discussed this yesterday that you don't wait till the entire plan is ready. After a certain amount of plan is ready, when you feel that yes, enough is ready to start working on, that is the time your team starts working on the project. So that is executing. I think you must be aware that maximum time on the project we spent in executing, creating something, making that end result happen. So when your team and you start making the things, making the deliverables, getting them ready, you are working on the deliverables as per the plan. So what do you have to ensure? That your plan is correct, plan is good, and you are working as per the plan. See, there are two ways this can go wrong. A, the plan itself is not good. B, the plan is good, but the actions are not according to the plan. So a project manager has to keep track of both the things, that the plan is correct. If not, it needs to be changed. And your actions are according to correct plan. If not, you need to change those actions. So checking if everything is going on well, plan and action, plan and execution, checking them, tallying them, tracking them is the next set of actions. Next process group, monitoring and controlling. By the time you complete the deliverables, it's time to close. So there are formal processes that help you close your project. Those are called closing processes. Now, my friends, I have a question for you. I'm not talking about the next line in the book. When you think of project, okay, we are working for an organization, and today you come to know that you are going to manage our next project. It's a big project and you are going to manage it. What is your first thought? Yes, I know you are given a big responsibility. So obviously it's a challenging career. It's a good opportunity. So you are happy. But when you think of project, what is your first thought? What is your first worry? Let me put it more clearly. I want you to think about this. If you want to answer on microphone, raise your hands or type. I'm waiting for your answers. I'm repeating my question. We are working for an organization, project-oriented organization. You can think of anything. I don't want you to think of typically only IT-oriented applications. The questions will be from various industries. So let us say that we are all working for a construction company and we are into residential tower constructions. So the next big residential complex, a very high-end residential complex is coming up and you are the project manager. What is your first concern? What is your first worry? Come on, friends. I want your answers on chat. Fine. So one concern I can see here is Nasser is saying he would worry whether he would be able to deliver project on time and with quality. So he is thinking about two key areas, time and quality. Rohit is saying cost, time and resource management. Rohit, since you have raised your hand, I'm unmuting you. What is it that you want? Can you say out loud or you want to type? Because yesterday I was not able to hear you.
Are you able to hear now? Okay, so ma'am, I wanted to, see, cost
You're not very audible, Rohit. Your volume is very low.
Are you able to hear now?
Yes, that is good.
Okay, so ma'am, cause see, whenever we get any kind of project, the main thing is that we need to save the cost as much as possible, and the timeline should be as per the expected client
Right.
requirement.
That's what you're written. You're
And
right.
there are many, yeah, there are many business analysts and project managers and developers, clients.
Hmm.
So those we need to manage it properly. Because in case that cost increases, it may impact, means one resources cost is not less. So these are the three main aspects
You're
that I
saying
feel.
cost, time, resource.
And resource.
Nasir is saying time and quality. So we are talking about 4 areas of concern: time, cost, quality, resources. Am I right, Rohit?
Yeah, right.
That's actually good, because see, here is where all our experience is coming up. Yes, that is the key. And now, Prasanna and Shrikant, I want inputs from you. Chaitendra, you also. I'm simply asking what would be your concerns. Nasir and Rohit have given us very good pointers. The same time, cost, quality, and resource are going to be our concerns. When I was a project manager, okay, my first concern would be, will I be okay, Prasanna? I'm unmuting you.
Yeah, ma'am, nowadays, if you see the situation, even if you have enough budget and even time also, the major problem would be the labors. You won't be, I mean, you won't, the resources, I mean, the labor resource which you would be dependent on for the construction, you
Prasanna,
know.
I want to work for your organization where there is enough budget. I never had that.
No, it was a general one part which I was telling, usually which happens here
So
most of
yes,
the
Prasanna,
time.
resources is what Rohit is also saying. So all of you seem to agree with all these 3 points that have come up. I had a different concern, slightly different, I should say. All these were there, of course. Beyond that, I had a concern. I'm muting you, Prasanna, because I'm getting a humming sound. Um, I used to worry a lot about what happens to my scope. See, my major project experience comes from SAP implementations. So if the scope gets extended, for me, what does it translate into? More work, so more time required. If time required is more, I would need more resources, or the same resources have to work a lot. That means I would need more money also. So scope extension was the biggest culprit for me. Anytime the scope was extended, time would also increase and cost would also increase. Typically, my management would say, okay, I understand the scope is increasing. We understand that. Doesn't mean you get more resources and more money and more time. You have to learn to manage in given things. So if, in other words, what they're saying, you're not getting more people, you're not getting more money, and you have to deliver in time. How is your lookout? That is what happens. Like, okay, when I was in project manager shoes, I would not like the management role. When I went into management role, I understood what are their problems. So um, my situation would be, scope is getting extended. People are not giving me more time. They're not giving me more money. So what would suffer? Obviously, quality would suffer. If I have to complete a lot of work with less resources, less money, and less time, what does it indicate? Quality would suffer. So yes, these are the concerns of almost every project manager. Yes, Nasir, what is it? Increasing the scope will definitely give more money from customer if the scope increases to that extent. Okay, small extensions usually don't give you money. And what happens is you need to retain the customer. So it's difficult to ask money for small extensions from management's perspective. Okay, we'll be discussing this in stakeholder management again. But when they are giving more money, the money doesn't come to project. The money goes to my management, my organization. The budget they have sanctioned for a project doesn't increase unless the scope increases considerably. For considerable scope increase and considerable more revenue, yes, we would get more money. But otherwise, for usual project scope extensions, friends, I want you to raise your hands. How many of you have managed a project? I'm not talking about scope frozen projects, usual normal projects. I'm not talking about agile also, because agile always scope will get increased. But otherwise, how many of you have managed a project with zero scope extension? No scope was extended. Can you please raise your hands? Okay, I will tell you about my experience. Prasanna, that's really great to know. Can I hear from you what type of project it was, and how did you manage with zero scope extension?
Ma'am, as I have mailed the business case to you, that is the same project where the number of resources were, fixed, or the topics which they were trained, that was fixed. But it was not scope, but slight some changes were there where the day-to-day activities what was given to them,
So
that was
zero
changed.
scope extension is actually, I should almost say, practically not possible. Technically it is possible, but practically it is not possible.
Yeah.
PMI also understands that and respects it. See, this project management is subjective. It's not like mathematics. Here 2 plus 2 can sometimes be 5.1,
Fine. Yeah.
not even 4. It can be sometimes 5.1. Okay.
Mm.
So yes, as a project manager, every project manager would get worried about scope extensions most of the times. And once the scope extends, the other concerns or other constraints is the better word. That is what we're going to use. I was trying to avoid that. So if scope is one constraint and scope gets extended, the other constraints have to extend. So in basically scope, time and cost are the three constraints that are tied together very tightly. One of them changes, the other two are bound to change. Supposing your management has given you 5 crore rupees to construct a residential tower of whatever, like 10-story tower only we will complete, and 5 crore they have given you, you have to complete those 10-story towers, all the flats, everything. Now they say out of that 5 crores, they need some money, and now they are willing to give you only 3 crores. So either the quality will suffer and the tower that you construct will be a low quality tower, or you will not be able to complete the scope. So one of scope, time, cost changes, it affects remaining 3. So I said scope, time, cost, but quality also is equally tightly knitted with the remaining 3 constraints. So scope, time, cost, quality. Then somebody was saying here, in fact, Prasanna also said that more than budget, resources, good resources can be a problem. So all of us know that. Every time we are on project, the good resources are already hogged by some other project. We don't get good resources. Or if we get good resources, they have to leave the project in between. So that is Murphy's law, which happens almost every time with most of us. And how many of you work on shared resources? Do you know what is it? Do you work with shared resources? A resource which works on multiple projects at the same time. So he is given to your project maybe at some dedicated period, for some dedicated period, at some dedicated intervals, or as and when he gets free times, he works for you. So Shrikant says he has raised his hand. I'm unmuting you. So if you have to say something different, yes, you can. But otherwise, I'm taking it as you have used shared resources on your project. Rest of you have not used shared resources. Maybe you are a lucky project manager. Teacher. Shared resources is another name for pain. For the same reason, they are not available when you want them. Other projects, they are fighting fire on. So resource is one more constraint that worries a project manager. So how many now we have considered? We have considered 5: scope, time, cost, quality, and resources. Always a project manager is constantly checking if any of these are slipping. What is his concern? If one of them, if quality slips, if scope slips, when I say scope slips, scope gets extended. If your schedule slips, you are behind schedule. If you overspend, so this is what a project manager has to continuously check. If quality slips, so in fact we are talking about risk. So risk is also one more kind of constraint. So altogether there are 6 constraints. I'd just like to take you through a very quick 2 slides here, and that two very simplistic slides. So this is our project: quality, time, cost. You can think of these as areas of a triangle. What happens to a triangle? If one side changes, the other sides also need to change accordingly, and the inside area also gets affected. So if cost, time, and quality changes, scope gets affected. This is also known as a basic project management constraint triangle. Basic project constraint triangle, same thing. Uh, and the 2 more things that we added, resources and risk, are called a modern project management constraint figure. It's a 6-point star where project constraints are time, cost, quality, risk, resources, and scope finally. So all of these together are the things that all of us worry about. That's why they are also called project constraints. Let us see. Managing a project includes identifying requirements. Generally, as soon as you begin a project, your first concern is how you are going to define scope well. So the first step towards defining scope well is collecting requirements. I don't know if you have this experience. Initially, the stakeholders, customers, are not very clear about how to explain their requirements. You go halfway through and they come to you with some fresh requirements. So if this keeps on happening, that would mean that the project was not well initiated, not well begun. The requirements were not collected well. That is what it indicates if the requirements keep on continuing till end. So every project manager worries about identifying requirements. If you do not, tell me. Once you have the requirements frozen down, then you plan to complete those requirements and carry out the work to complete those requirements. So when you are working on that, one major concern is your stakeholders. While you are completing your project, you continuously need to keep them happy, keep them satisfied, or as the terminology PMBOK uses, address your stakeholders' concerns, needs. In other words, be proactive, judge their needs, and work on them. That is a key to manage projects successfully. So basically, a project manager's skill lies in balancing competing requirements. These competing requirements can be thought of as project constraints. Again, typical PMBOK English. Competing constraints is the concerns that a project manager has. A project manager, poor fellow, is worried about scope, schedule, and money. If he tries and takes care of money, the time slips. If he focuses on time, scope can slip. So all these concerns or constraints are competing with each other for project manager's attention. So the best way is to manage and keep equal attention on all of these. So these are the 6 constraints that we checked a little while ago. Scope, then where is time? Schedule. Where is money? Budget. Quality, resources, and risk. These 6 constraints or these 6 things is something a project manager should focus his time on, divide his time on. Okay. I really speaking, these definitions of program management, portfolio management, I am going to explain you through a quick slide the concept of a program and the concept of portfolio. These definitely will not be on your questions. Actually, these are for reference of serials. See, there are examinations like PGMP, Program Management, and Portfolio Management, PFMP. So these areas are for their reference. For PMP, there wouldn't be any questions on these, but I want your concepts to be clear. So yes, let us just see a quick example and try and understand what is a program. Okay, I am working in an organization where SAP implementation is taken. That organization does SAP implementation. They also implement Oracle ERP. So they are not only focused on SAP. So SAP implementations can also happen. Oracle ERP implementations can also happen depending upon how is the market. Now, so SAP, right now there are 3 SAP projects going on, SAP 1, SAP 2 and SAP 3. Just some SAP implementation, we don't really need to get into scope of that. Here, this is in Mumbai, this is in Pune, and this is in Bangalore. Now what happens is, SAP2, this particular project is not shaping up well because the customer is not doing well. He has made heavy losses. Do you get my case? My organization implements SAP. Right now they have 3 projects in hand. One project in Mumbai, they are implementing SAP some modules. Similar projects in a project in Pune, and similar but a little bigger project in Bangalore. Where was it? I don't remember, but let's go to Bangalore now. So the project SAP3 is similar but bigger in size. It's in Bangalore. Now what happens is, my SAP2 project is not shaping up well because the customer has made heavy losses and is not in position to pay us on time. And as it happens, I am the project manager here, SAP2. The customer is not doing well, so he is stalling the project. He is not interested in getting it done fast. Whereas SAP1 is going at normal pace, SAP3 is going at normal pace, and that is the biggest project. Now, what would my management do? Obviously, what my management would do now is they will tell me, Vajayanti, this is a project which is not going to give us good profit because the customer is dragging it because he has made losses, is now doesn't want to pay, he is dragging it. Since he is dragging it, this is where they are going to make losses. So what we are going to do is we are going to shift resources from this project to SAP3. That is a project, if we finish earlier, we will get good returns. Now tell me, why was this possible? The reason why this was possible is these are similar types of projects, and my senior management is looking at set of all these projects so that they can make the best of it. Wherever it's not going on well, they can shuffle the resources, they can shuffle the budget. Wherever it is going on well, they can increase the budget, remove budget from SAP 2, put it on SAP 1 or SAP 3, whatever is required. Remove resources from SAP 2, put them on SAP 3 or SAP 1. So when you have similar projects in your organization, and what you do is you make a group of them, theoretical group, so that you can manage them well, manage them better as a group. What you are talking about is you are talking about program management. Similar projects grouped together for better management, you are talking about program management. Are all of you with me? If you have any doubts, Shrikant, I am lowering your hand. If you have any doubt, I want you to raise your hand. Otherwise, I have a question for you. Okay, since I don't see a hand raised, this is a question I want you to seriously attempt and write the answer. I told you that I am the manager of SAP 2, which is not doing well. Now, my senior management, my program management, they come to me and say, Vajanti, two of your best resources we want to remove to SAP 3. My program manager calls me and says, Vajanti, these are two of your best resources. We had given those resources to you in anticipation that Pune project will give us good profit. It's not happening. So what we are planning is, we are planning to remove these two good resources. We will put them on SAP 3 so that SAP 3 we can finish faster. My question to you is, what should be my stand as a project manager? If you have not understood the question, please raise your hand so that I can tell you again. But I want you to think about this case and tell me your answer. See, this is why I have asked you this question. There is a reason for that. Yes, Prasanna, I am unmuting you. What is it that you want to say?
Ma'am, you have to try to convince the management to have the resource for project 2 itself. If still the management is not agreeing, then you need to release them for the other project.
How many of you agree with Prasanna? Prasanna is saying, like my senior program manager says, Vajanti, I want to remove those two resources, and instead of releasing those, Prasanna, I'm muting you. I got your point. And instead of releasing those two resources, he's saying that I should negotiate. I should stand in my place and say, no, my two resources are my two resources, and I want them here to complete my project. You should not release them. As a project manager is what is something Prasanna is trying to say. Friends, I want answers from you to check how well you are connected to project management and PMBOK here. Okay, it's okay not to be not connected. Here is where you can improve. Yes, Shrikant, I have unmuted you. I want to understand what is your stand. Come on, Rohit. You can type your answer. Nasir, Chetendra, you're not participating. I'm waiting for your answers, friends. And there is a reason why I'm saying this. Shrikant, I'm waiting for you to say something. You're not audible. Okay, so maybe you would like to type it out. Okay, Rohit, the question was SAP, these are three projects, SAP 1, 2, 3. 2 is not doing good, And since we have a program manager, these are similar projects. So what the program manager does is manages resources across, or resources, budget, whatever is required, manages them across. I am the manager here, SAP2, which is not doing well, and he is asking me two of my best resources should be moved to SAP3, which needs good resources and which is doing good. So what should I do was my question. And Shrikant said that no, I should not take things lying down, and I should not release the resources as soon as my program manager says. I should stand my ground and negotiate with them. That's what Prasanna wanted to say. Chaitendra seems to agree with it. Okay, fine. Friends, yes. See, what is my job? Why I am paid? To close my project successfully. Always remember, PMI will constantly be testing you on that. Your program manager's job is to run the whole set profitably. So if he is making losses in SAP2, it is his job to make that up with SAP1 and SAP3. It's not your job. Your job is to manage your project. So you should negotiate. That was a good answer, Prasanna. Yes, you should negotiate. And it's possible that these negotiations might not be fruitful. In the end, you will have to give up the resources. So yes, that's possible. But at the first thing, what you should do is, no, I'm not going to release my resources. I need to complete my project. And for completing my project, I need those two resources, is what you should negotiate. So why I ask this question here is, here onwards, always be the project manager with focus on closing projects successfully. Always remember that, and then look at the questions. You usually would hit correct answer. Okay. So in our organization, there are two programs, program 1 and program 2. One program is SAP, another program is Oracle. So when we group similar projects together, what we have is program. And when we group similar programs together, what we have is portfolio. I'm giving you very broad examples and explanation. I'm not talking about technical definitions because that's not required. Okay? So if I'm working for a big CMM5 type of company like Sensor, they have ERP programs, SAP program, one program, Oracle program is another program, application development is third program, and maybe whatever other programs they have. Between the three, if they feel that SAP program is doing good and Oracle ERP, all the profits earned by Oracle ERP 1, 2, 3 together are 20% of what you earn through SAP 1, 2, 3. What does that tell you? Oracle ERP, you are not making losses, but the program is not yielding you as good as SAP program. So from the top management's perspective, what should happen is all this Oracle ERP can get converted into SAP, and you can try and increase SAP revenue. You can try and maximize SAP revenue. Oracle is not giving you good revenue. So when you are managing programs in this way, checking which are the most profitable ones, encouraging them, and closing down or modifying, reducing, shrinking in size other programs, what you are doing is you are managing at portfolio level. So basically, project is at the smallest level. Set of projects together makes one program. Set of programs will make one portfolio. So with that broad definition, let us go to the textbook again. The table that you have explains the situation there. It says the situation in the sense I was trying to tell you about what is the smallest, what is relatively bigger, and all that. Oh, fine. These tools somehow stop working after a time. Okay. So what does this table say? Again, you don't get questions. Nasir, that's an interesting take, but I just noticed the question that we were talking about. Uh, if I remove two resources from a project, that will reduce the cost. And but why are you worried about giving it in low cost? Low cost might also mean low quality. That doesn't mean that you might close the project successfully. Of course, this is very subjective, situation to situation. You will have to take call, but that is an interesting way of thinking. Fine. Coming back here, when you talk about scope of the project in the given situation, project comparison in project program portfolio, scope of the project is smallest, program is a little larger, and portfolio is the largest. So this is just to tell you, managing a project is smaller program responsibility, I'm saying. Managing a program is a bigger responsibility, and managing a portfolio is a very big, still bigger responsibility. Since you don't get too many questions on that, I would leave this for you to read. Of course, you can ask me any doubts and questions on this. Okay. Now, this is something I want, it's simple, but I want you to understand, because if you have heard from January 2016, the examination, PMP examination changed a little. So this is one of the changes. Till January 16, there used to be hardly a question on strategic planning or business case. What does a business case mean? Or do you understand a business case? There were very few questions, if at all. Now you will get questions on business case. That is one of the very big changes PMI has introduced. So we will go to business case, and these are the ground stones, or this is what the business case is usually based on. And we will be discussing business case a little later. I'm sorry. Why does an organization undertake a project? What is the reason? Very rarely the reason is to complete a certain deliverable for its sake. There are underlying reasons why you want to execute, why you want to complete a project. Those reasons are your strategic reasons that make you, that force you, that enable you to undertake the project. And that is what the reasons why you have undertaken those projects are called strategic considerations. In simple language, I said the reasons why you undertake a project. Pimbock calls it, instead of saying reasons why, it's saying strategic considerations. So why should you take up a project? There are so many reasons. First of all, there is a market demand for whatever I am creating. Do you remember around 2000, there was, as it is popularly known now, e-bubble. Because of that Y2K bug, there were so many revamping, so many applications had to be checked again and all those things. So many organizations started working on applications that would bypass that Y2K because there would be marketing demand for the same. There would be market demand for the same. Right now, sorry, if any organization takes up a project to create a beautiful mobile handset which is modular, okay, the screen size is not fixed, it may be right, a minimum screen size is 3 inches. You want bigger, you can attach additional modules. You want, let's say, for seniors, glucometers to measure sugar. Do you want that in your cell phone? Add that as an add-on. I'm not talking about the apps. I'm talking about the hardware. So they will undertake such a project because they feel that an organization is taking up a project to create such a modular, beautiful handset. So why are they doing it? Obviously, they feel that the market demand for such a product will be huge. So the reason, strategic consideration why they are undertaking this modular handset project is market demand. Again, if I refer to that Y2K in what happened in year 2000, the date problem was thought of. It did actually hit much, but people thought of the date problem and they thought that it will be a problem for almost every application. So for many Indian IT firms, that was a strategic opportunity. They saw that that's an opportunity which has come their way. They didn't do anything to create that Y2K problem or create that Y2K bug. But since it was there, it gave them an opportunity, that is strategic opportunity. So all those Y2K kind of projects, you can say, projects I'm saying, you can say are strategic opportunity projects. Your business needs SAP to be implemented so that, see, right now, you really do not have good record. Your purchase says you have purchased 100 crores worth of inventory. Your store says you have only 20 crore worth of inventory. Production says they have consumed more than 150 crores worth of material. What does that mean? Your record is horrible. Record keeping is horrible. So you need an ERP implemented which will streamline your business. So because your business needs it, you want to implement SAP. Friends, these are all examples. What I want you to do here, okay, I'll complete all these bullets first and then I'll come back to your exam preparation. Social needs, I really don't think I need to explain. You are working on a project for school for underprivileged children from rural areas. You're doing a good social cause, right? You're working for a good social cause. So that project is undertaken because of social needs. Why would an organization really go for a social need project? It doesn't earn them money. Then what does it earn them? It earns them reputation. It earns them brand value. That is also counted in business. So yes, for social need, many organizations would go for projects like good roads or drinking water, schools, hospitals. Such projects many organizations would undertake as social needs project. Then environmental projects, any kind of green city projects that we have, save, conserve water kind of projects that we have, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, all these are environmental consideration projects. They have good ecological impact. They should have, they're supposed to have. Most of us know the next type of projects very well. Customer requests. We have undertaken this particular project because our customer requested us. I have a customer who wants a very big hotel developed in Thane, where I stay. So he says, assuming that I have a construction firm, he gives me that project saying, please construct a hotel for us. So why I'm undertaking that project? Because of customer request. I'm going to get profit, but why that project? Customer has requested. Yes, Prasanna, I'm unmuting. You wanted to say something?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in service-based industries, I mean, we would be doing work for the customers. That would come under business need or customer request. For example, I mean, if you are working for a company which is a partner of SAP, where your company would be implementing SAP on behalf of SAP company. So it is your business need or it is a customer request.
It's a customer request, because business need is if you do something for your organization. Okay, let us just say that you are working in a organization where your office is not very good, so you are constructing a new premise for your office. So that is need for your business. If you are working for your customer, it is the need of your customer's business. That's what you are saying. SAP implementation was need of my customer's business. They wanted SAP to be implemented. But why you see, if I ask customer why you are getting this project done, that's a business need. So from their perspective, the project is a business need strategic case. From
But
your
but
perspective, yes,
sorry, I mean, as per, see, I mean, as a service-based industry, I mean, we would be only, working for the customer. It is not
yes.
that, I mean, a customer would be coming to us. I mean, we would be going to customer.
So most, that's what I said. Most of the projects that we know, it's not only for service. It's usually most of the projects that we know are customer requests. If we do the projects for ourselves, then only they would fall in other cases.
Okay.
So what you say is right. Like, okay, for you almost 100%, minimum 95% more projects are for customers because of customer requests. So that's true. But I also want you to understand that these can be the reasons. If you are a customer for somebody, it wouldn't be customer request. If
Yeah.
somebody is executing a project for you, then it will be perhaps business need or strategic
Mhm.
opportunity or whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Technology, yeah. Technological advances. Most of the upgrade kind of projects that we do for ourselves will come under technological advances and legal requirements. See, typically anyone here who works for pharma organization? No. So pharma waste disposal has many legal statutory compliance requirements. It has to be disposed in a certain way. For that, they have to create plans, they have to create disposal systems, and those projects will be legal requirement projects. In Mumbai, and now if you construct residential buildings, rainwater conservation has to be given priority, or solar panels for uh, heaters, water have to be there. So these are now legal requirements for city like Mumbai. Now that's a case where the vendor who actually constructs the residential tower, for him, his project has part of that. If he is constructing that solar, using those solar panels and uh, for heating water, then that part of project is because of legal requirements. If I am a vendor who only erects those solar panels because of legal requirements. If the customer has given me that order and I'm doing it for customer, then I'm not worried. If it is legal requirement or whatever it is, for me, it would be customer request. If I'm going to face my government and government has put on a law that you have to have these many things in your residential complex, I am the project sponsor. I am working, my team is working, I have not outsourced. So in that case, my project would be a legal requirements project. Friends, you don't get direct questions on this, but what is market demand, what is legal requirement is what you have to understand, so that you will be able to answer business case questions when we come to it. There are obviously no direct questions on whatever we are doing today. Almost no, zero direct question on first three chapters, but all of this is related to good questions that you will be getting from other chapters. Now, I said a few minutes back that I will be coming back to you after I complete these bullets on your preparation. So what I want you to do is keep your books open when we are discussing something, and whenever we are discussing something, let us say we discuss one legal requirement case as pharma waste disposal system, right? If you feel that you don't easily remember an example of this strategic consideration, write it down there. So next time when you read it, you will remember the discussion and you will be able to connect it. You have to unlearn a little. We were taught in the schools not to scribble on the books. Well, I'm saying exactly other way around. Scribble a lot on your book and scribble with colorful and bright pens, so that you remember, you really connect easily to whatever we were discussing. So I just need a minute from you. PMO, business value, and no, a little too much. Okay, friends, yes, we need to take a break here, but then what I suggest is let us complete two more points. They are small, straightforward points, and then take a break for about 10 minutes. So here, what is a project management office? See, when an organization works on projects, there are multiple projects going on. Usually, there is a project support cell, people who work for supporting the projects. They are also called PMO, Project Management Office. What do they do? They help the projects. How? They create templates. If the project is stuck somewhere because of, let's say, new technology, they will help the project out. They will help the project manager and the project out. Maybe they will help you hire an expert. Maybe they will give you access to other knowledge base, other projects from your own organization, their history, they will make you accessible. So you can read the history, you can read what happened there, you can decide way ahead. They will help you taking decisions so that the project closes successfully. Anything that you need so that you can close the project successfully, they will be doing it for you. Their main role is to define the standards and templates and support the project. And once they do this, see to it that all the projects adhere to the standards and templates that are defined. Okay, I have defined a beautiful template for schedule. But if no one is using that, what's the use of that template? So the PMO will have to make the templates and see to it that projects are using them. They are adhering to them. So there are three types of PMOs: supportive, controlling, and directive. Supporting PMO is what I was talking about. They create those templates, they give you guidance, guide you, mentor you. Anything, any problem you tell them, or any problem you explain to them, they will be helping you out. It is their responsibility to guide you. So yes, if A supportive PMO is there to help you. A controlling PMO checks that the templates and best practices and standards you are using, you are not bypassing them. Why do they do that? Because if you use the best practices, obviously your project management is going to be good. So controlling PMO checks if everything is going on well. Controlling PMO is the PMO that audits your project, checks if you are using the best practices, if your quality is good, are you slipping somewhere? So that these are the controlling PMOs. And lastly, directive PM, micromanaging PM. So what they do is a project manager is deployed, is working on a project, and they monitor the project and project manager totally. The project manager is nothing but a puppet in the hands of PMO. They'll call him, okay, tomorrow is Monday, 9:30 you have to be in customer MD's cabin and do wear formals. These following points A, B, C, D, you have to tell the MD. You have to negotiate, you have to communicate this to him very well. Whatever he says, as soon as you are out of the meeting, call us back and let us know what he said so that we can tell you what should be the next action. If your PMO is doing that, then they are directive PMOs. Is it good to have directive PMO? The answer is yes and no, both. 100% directive PMO is not welcome, but especially where the industry is new. The project manager doesn't have experience. Then directive PMO is the way to manage a project successfully, which is what actually I have faced. So when I joined SAP, that was the time when SAP was new in India. So we didn't have many heads or many people who knew about SAP, who knew about SAP implementation. So the freshers, after maybe 1 or 2 projects, had to be made project managers. They didn't have experience and lacked maturity. So this is what we had to do. Make them as dummy project managers and manage the project behind scenes. In 1 or 2 cycles, they would be seasoned and we would not need to do it anymore. So yes, directive PMOs have their life, have the reason to exist. Now when I said the PMO can be supportive, the PMO can be controlling, and the PMO can be directive. Am I saying that there should be 3 PMOs? Absolutely no reason. The same PMO can be supportive sometimes when they're creating those templates for you, when they're guiding you, when they're mentoring you, when they're solving your problems. They're supportive PMO. When they're checking whether you comply, whether you conform, they're controlling PMOs. When they're monitoring your every step, they're directive PMOs. So it's not that there are 3 different PMOs, their roles are different. So same PMO can play these 3 different roles. So meanwhile I see. Yes, Ephraim, I saw that you just joined the class, and we also are doing the initial definitions. Yes. So relationship between project management, operations management, and organizational strategy. Well, this is a heading I like because it simply says, how does your organization keep relation between projects and organization? Does it give more importance to projects? Does it give more importance to operations? Or does it give equal importance? Usually equal importance is not there. It's always skewed. A production industry or industry like pharma, where bread is earned by producing common medicine like paracetamol, obviously more weightage, more importance will go to production, manufacturing, operations. Less importance will be given to finding out, researching new drugs, because that research by itself does not give you any money. And after such many projects, one project will give you super duper hit. But otherwise, those projects are not earning much money for the organization, and obviously the organization would like to give more weightage to operations, productions. What is an operation? A thing that is done repeatedly without predetermined end. Producing those paracetamol tablets every day, all 365 days, 3 shifts. And you don't know when you are going to stop it. If there is a law which comes in and you have to stop, you will stop. If you feel that the paracetamol tablets are not giving you good money, then you will stop. So there is no predetermined complete this much and stop kind of thing. So operations are usually called timeless and repetitive. Same things again and again. They are not unique experience. Same thing you repeat every time. Having said that, what is more difficult? Operations, managing an operation, or managing a project? You can't say. Both are equally difficult because both are managed by people. So both are equally difficult. Both need time. Both need money. So you can't say that operations are easy. You can't say that projects are easy. Now, what is a business value? Value of your entire organization, whatever physical assets they have, tangible, physical, countable assets. And besides that, what is countable assets? The building if they have, the furniture if they have, fixtures, equities, their investments, everything is called their tangible assets. Besides that, their reputation, their brand value. These are abstract things, but these are also taken into consideration when you think about business value of an organization. Again, though you need to understand this, don't think of this from questions perspective, but 1.7 is the only area which you will get lot of questions on, and I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to read that quickly because we will be doing them again and again. We will be doing them first in human resource management, then we will be touching on them in communication management and stakeholder management. So do you remember what it is? I told you yesterday about it. Do you remember the appendix X.3? So this is the appendix, this is about the appendix X.3. It tells you about what a project manager should do, what should be his skill sets, interpersonal skills. So that is what we are interested in. You get more than 25 questions on these type of skills. So easy questions if you understand these bullet points well. So read that well. You should be able to answer all those 25 questions. So what should a project manager do? What should be his role? So A, he should know managing projects. If you have a person who has zero knowledge of subject matter, okay, managing construction project but doesn't know much about construction, knows project management very well. If you have another person who knows subject matter very well but doesn't have any knowledge about project management, who should be the project manager? So ideally, somebody who has project management knowledge. Project management knowledge is more important for managing projects. So the person who doesn't have subject matter expertise but has project management knowledge should be selected as a PM. So that's what is PMI stand, and I almost agree with it. Yes, I do feel that subject matter knowledge helps, but helps is the only thing. And very important is his personal effectiveness and his interpersonal skills. What is personal effectiveness? His general attitude, the way he interacts, his core personality, the way he leads, the way he manages, negotiates, talks to people. All this is very important. Listens actively. So, interpersonal skills and attitude. These two are the most important, followed by core personality characteristics like honesty, being empathic, having empathy for others. These will be helpful for a project manager. The interpersonal skills that we are talking about are given here: leadership, team building, motivation, communication. I don't think we can disagree. And yes, we are going to discuss that in detail. Influencing, decision making, political and cultural awareness. Do you really need this? Yes, you do. So, if there is a sudden warlike situation, you have to understand how to react to it, how to come out of it, how to come out of the city. You are if you are in a totally different zone, how to come back safely. You have to understand. If there is political unrest, how to react to it. A project manager has to understand that, because suddenly political riot or political situation becoming restless can happen anywhere in the world. So how are you going to deal with it unless you know the local culture, unless you are aware about local politics? Negotiation, I think all of us know negotiation. One thing you have to remember is negotiation is not bargaining. It is a win-win solution. Discussing a solution with party and arriving at the most agreeable solution to both the parties. Conflict resolution is amongst your team usual. Coaching, guiding your team, and trust building. Trust building is if your team trusts each other, team and stakeholders trust each other, the project usually will get closed successfully. The rest of the bullets, unless you have a specific doubt why it is here or what is it, I'm not going to discuss now. So if you have any doubt, I'm giving you just 1 minute. Raise your hand if you have any doubts on these bullets only. You can look for them in your books. That's it. Okay, very good. I'm giving you half a minute here. So, yes, Fritz, since I don't see your hands raised, I can say that you really don't have a doubt. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a break for exactly 10 minutes. It's 8:20. 8:30 is what we will start, and we will start with the next chapter, organizational influences and project life cycles. So, something which you should know well very rarely, but there could be some questions on this and the concepts you have to know well. We will start that in exactly 10 minutes. Meanwhile, my camera, screen, and microphone are going to be off, but I am just here. So, have any doubts? Type it out. I will be responding. And 8:21, but 8:30, we will start back. So, with that, let's take a break. Yes, friends, let's get going. The chapter that we are going to discuss now is influence of an organization on project management. So, how does your organization treat projects? Depends on what is your organization's culture. If they are in manufacturing, the culture is production oriented, so importance to project will be less. The power to project managers will be very small, if at all. So then that depends on how you have to handle a project. You need to understand how your organization treats project, how your organization thinks about project, so that you can react, you can manage your project accordingly. So what are the policies for your organization? Who decides the project? Who takes up the project? Who signs the charter first? Who selects the project manager? What are the powers given to him? All this is your organization's policy, methods. And you need to align yourself to your organization's policies. If you are working in an organization where highest importance is given to production, because production is what is directly earning you money, and you want to manage a project in such an organization, so what is it that you have to do? What is the biggest skill that you have to have? The biggest skill here is networking on one hand and negotiating on another hand. So how did I know that? Because I have worked in such an organization. So when you work in such an organization and you want to complete your project successfully, you will have to understand how to align with your management. So what are the things that you consider? First of all, what is the importance given to project management? Who funds the project? What are the powers given to project manager? What are the rewards given to the project team? How the team gets motivated? What do you do? What does your organization do for that? Or even if your organization gives a lot of importance to projects, okay, if it's a software organization, if it's a construction organization, they will of course give, because their entire revenue is from projects. They will give a lot of importance to project. But when they give importance to project, what is it that you will have to align with? How they tolerate risks. So if you work with an organization for enough time, you understand what is it that they are looking for. Sometimes you must have heard your colleagues, senior colleagues or friends say, हमारे मैनेजमेंट का ना schedule थोड़ा slip हो गया चलता है. So if our schedule slips by, let us say, 2 weeks, it's not a problem. But if the budget, if I need 10% more money, that is a crime with our management. That's my management's culture. They want to save every penny to earn good profit. That's their culture. And if I know what kind of risks they don't mind and what kind of risks they don't like, what I know is their risk tolerance. So if I know that, I can align accordingly. If I know how open my leadership is to new technology, adapting to new technology, I can decide what tools, what methodology I'm going to use on project. If I know that my organization believes in honesty, believes in good core values, I will never bypass them to complete my goal on time. What are the operating environments also? I'm not talking about operations, operating environment of your project. How your project is going to get executed. Do you have a good room for your team? Do you have, let's say they're using laptops. Do you have good laptops for your team? Are they comfortable using that? That will also decide the output and quality of output to an extent. So all these organization related culture, organizations viewpoints is what a project manager has to understand. One more thing the project manager has to understand very well is communications, how communications happen. See, if your management feels that the purchase orders have to be always authorized by two people, anything on and above 5,000 rupees has to be approved by two people. So, what do you realize? When you need to purchase something, two people, you need to communicate it to two people and get their approvals. So what communication requirement is, you have to communicate with person A who gives level 1 approval, person B who gives level 2 approval, get it. So when you're talking about organizational communications, what are the communication requirements? Do you have stakeholders who are egoistic? If you have egoistic stakeholders, what does that mean? You will have to keep them in the communication loop for almost everything. If you don't do that, you have a very big, unhappy, unsatisfied stakeholder who can jeopardize your project. You don't want it, right? So what are the communication requirements of your organization is what you should seriously consider. One more thing is, looks very simple, but you have to understand is, again, let me go to production based organization. Think of organizations something like maybe 20-25 years ago. Production based organizations many times today also are operating at that level. The seniors are not used to using high tech gadgets, not very IT savvy. So what happens? If you send email report, they may not like it. They most probably will want a hard copy sitting on their desk at appropriate time. Okay. So unless if you didn't know, what would happen? Let me tell you one example from my experience. It was back around 2001 2002. I was implementing SAP in one large pharma organization. Now what happens is, I wanted to conduct a meeting of senior stakeholders, power users. So I sent an email to all my senior stakeholders. All of them agreed to come at 10 o'clock on Tuesday in the meeting room, barring one very influential stakeholder. All of them agreed. He didn't communicate. Tuesday morning is the meeting. Monday evening, I decided to call him and ask him why is that he didn't respond. So the first communication requirement, do you know? If you have such a senior stakeholder today, you would happily say, "Hi Kiran, are you planning to come to tomorrow's meeting?" Whereas the communication requirement in that organization is, "Sir." So Mr. Patil, did you receive my email? So I said I didn't get any response from you. That's why I'm calling. His classic response is, "What email? What did you send me email for? We have a meeting coming up tomorrow. Now, I am a production head. I am a plant in charge. From morning 8 o'clock to evening, night 10:30, I am standing on the shop floor. Vajanti, are you in right senses to tell me that I should go to my computer, switch it on, and check your email and respond to you? Do you think I do that? I get time to do that? I don't. Now I know that it really doesn't take much of time, but that's culture. He's not used to checking his emails. So I didn't understand the organization culture well, and I shot him an email, which hurt him hurt his ego too, right? He felt that this is the lady who does not really understand how to communicate. If I had just called him, or if I had sent him a paper note, he would have appreciated that. So that is organizational communication requirement. Every project manager has to take care of organizational communication requirements. Is an email okay? Or a formal document has to go? If an email is okay, how it should be addressed with first name, dear sir, how it should be addressed, who you should mark on CC, who you should not mark on CC. All these will be your communication requirements. And as a project manager, yes, it makes a lot of difference practically too to understand the communication requirements. I have been talking about different types of organization. I use the term project oriented or production oriented organization. Now let me give names to that orientation. If an organization's revenue comes from working, function, production, either from production or from sales or from marketing, any function that gives you money, then yours is a functional organization. Especially production based organizations, if you think of, they will always fall in this category. Functional organizations. How do you understand a functional organization? There usually would be multiple departments and people, the whole set of employees are divided as per their skill set. A person who knows about marketing is a part of marketing department. A person who knows about accounts is a part of accounts department. So that's how people are placed. They have a very rigid, very strict reporting structure. Their seniors will give work to them, and always, absolutely always, people who work in such organization will only take orders from their seniors. This is called a functional organization. So importance is given to departments like production, sales, accounts, because they bring in the money. Obviously, project doesn't get any importance. There is no specialized project person. Somebody from one department is called out, chalo, we need to have this system. Okay, we need to change the machines on production floor. Somebody take up this project. A person is selected. You will manage this project. You will get all the new machines selected. So what is my project now? I am a person working in production department. My CEO is saying, Vayanti, I want you to get all those new production machines and get them commissioned in my plants, in our plants, which are at, let's say, Nashik and Goa. Two plants, I want you to get those machines installed. My project is to get those machines installed. What do I do otherwise if that project is not there? I work in some sales department, let's say. I take orders from my boss, work in sales department. But today, my CEO is telling me, Vayanti, those high-end production machines, I want you to purchase them, implement, install them in our plants. So what do I need for this? I need to know how production takes place. I need to have experts from production. Now what I do is, I go to my production head, Mr. Patil, again. I want somebody who knows production well, but do I have power to select such a person? I would select Mr. Patil himself. He is the best person to know production, but I don't have power. I have to request Mr. Patil. Patil Saab or Sir, I actually am commissioning very good new machines for you. But for that, I need 2 of your best resources for 2 weeks. Usually, what is Mr. Patil's reaction on this? Very strong reaction. Vajanti, are you in your right mind? My best 2 resources I'll give you, and what will I do? Vajanti, I am answerable to the CEO. 2 अच्छे बंदे आपको देके, my production will go down. And how will I be able to answer my CEO's questions? Are you mad? I am not giving you those 2 people. You want 2 people, वो कल fresh बंदे दोनों आए उनको लेके जा. So I'm asking for the 2 best resources. He is offering 2 resources that are of no use at all. Why this is happening? He has all the powers as a functional manager. I don't have any power as a project manager. If this is the scenario, then you are working in functional organization. On the other hand, if you work in an organization like, let's say, construction firm, so you are today managing a project of residential complex in Bangalore. Tomorrow, that project is getting over, you will be managing a project, similar project in Chennai. 2 years down the line, that project gets over, you will be managing a similar project in Hyderabad. So whenever you are managing a project, you get to select your team. May not be faces, but you can say, I need a person, I need an architect who has good reputation, has 4 years of experience, and has these 3 certifications to his credit. I want such a person so that I can do this residential project successfully. This is the case where my organization's all revenue comes from project. That's why they don't mind giving authority to project managers. So on one hand, the project managers have zero power or very small power function. On the other hand, all the power is invested in project managers and the organization is called projectized. In between, oil and gas. Part of the revenue comes from the oil sale. Part of the revenue comes from the projects of delivering oil from well to the mainland or other nations, other countries. So that is in between. It's a mix of functional and projectized. It's called a matrix organization. So 3 organizations we saw: functional organization, matrix organization, and projectized organization. Yes, the matrix is further divided into 3. I'll tell you for your reference only, not for example. So yours is a matrix organization, which is a balance of functional and projectized. But if you really see, it is more like functional. So you are a weak matrix. Other hand, you say that your organization is a balance of functional and projectized, but in reality, most of the revenue comes from projects. Your organization is a strong matrix. In between is a balanced matrix. So to tell you in other words, if you are working in functional, your power is least, smallest. Weak matrix, almost same. Balanced matrix, a little more. Strong matrix, furthermore. Projectize the best power you have. So if you look at this table and when you go from left to right, okay, functional, little power. Weak, limited. Balanced, better than this. Strong, better than balanced. Projectize, the highest. So it goes on increasing. Everything goes on increasing from left to right. You can get a question on functional matrix and projectize. You won't get a question on whether it's a weak matrix or a strong matrix or a balanced matrix. So don't worry about that. Just for your interest, I have told you what is the difference. I do want you to spend half a minute in reading this chart and letting me know if you have any doubts. Otherwise, I am skipping to next topic. I know since I need to keep the screen in front of you, I am not scrolling down. The next point, okay, open corporate is every year. Fine. Just giving you half a minute. Let me know if you have any doubts. Yes, by budget control, Vikram, we are saying decision to spend monies. Okay, let me give you one example. I work for IT department of a pharma organization. Remember what I'm saying? IT department. So now my CEO is saying, Vajanti, we need marketing MIS so that I have good control on marketing. For marketing MIS, where do I get business experts in marketing? So I go to marketing head, tell him that we are going to develop a good system for you guys. What I want is 3 good resources from you for 1 month, and you will need to have those high-end computing systems, high-end hardware. So he's saying, from where do you think I'll get that money? I have an annual budget of 10 crores, which I have already consumed half of it. I'm not going to give you any money for your CD reports. So he decides whether he wants to go ahead and buy or whether he doesn't want to buy. I try to tell him, Mark, CEO has told that these are the systems that are required. Fine, go tell your CEO, I'm not giving. Because Mark knows that the CEO will also tell him not to release too much money because he's not going to give addition. So budget control is in functional case is in the hand of functional managers. In project times, the project manager decides total budget is 100 rupees. How much I'm going to spend on what? Yeah, Rohit, what is it? Please give one example for each type. Okay. Functional, any production. I told you about pharma just now. It's a functional. Balance, matrix, oil and gas, where part of revenue comes from selling the oil, part of revenue comes from taking the oil, project of laying down the pipelines, taking the oil from oil wells to mainland. So that is matrix. Projectize is any software, any construction. I guess these are the examples I told you, so I just repeat it. So have I answered your question? If I have answered your question, Rohit, please lower your hand. Yes, I have not answered your question. Let me know. Vikram, Rohit, I have unmuted you. So if you have any more questions, you can ask. Meanwhile, let me read Vikram's question. What if we have a funding available and now the spend has to be done? Okay. So in this case, let us say the CEO says that I will fund for the machines. So in that case, again, who decides? Not the project manager. It's not the project budget. The CEO says, because Mark is not giving, I'm giving you. So CEO again is a functional head. So budget is available when we say the budget is given. The money is given by some functional head only. And that is how the project manager doesn't have any say. Like in the total revenue of an organization, project manager cannot say keep 10% aside for IT projects. He can suggest, but he doesn't have any say in the decision. So even if you have budget, it means somebody has been generous to you. Doesn't mean that you have power. weak, balanced, and strong matrix. Uh, I can give you theory. I cannot give you examples because I will have to name the organizations. Weak matrix is where some revenue comes from projects, only marginal revenue comes from project, major revenue comes from operation. So let us say your organization is in constructing petrol pumps, and you actually are in petrol pumps also. You also own some petrol pumps. So most of your revenue is going to come from sale of the petrol. Okay, most of the petrol pumps belong to you. So 90% of your revenue is coming from petrol sale. Only 10% you construct those petrol pumps for others. So where does your importance go now? Obviously to sell of petrol. So who's powerful? People who actually manage selling petrol, function, who actually manage that. So that's a weak matrix. Not the entire revenue is coming from business function, but still most of it is coming from function. Then balanced, I really don't have any example. Strong, you can think of any oil and gas. Anyone here from oil and gas? Right now, oil and gas industry is not doing well, so that's why I actually asked. Anyone here from oil and gas? No. So Rohit, that's the best example I can give. I cannot name the organizations. What you really have to understand is in the week, most of revenue is from function, small portion is from projects. In the balance, the revenue distribution is almost equal. Say 35-40% revenue comes from project. It doesn't have to exact 50-50. And rest of it comes from business function. In strong, it could be other way. 30% revenue comes from other support work or business area. 70% of the revenue comes from your projects. So, okay. With that, friends, we are changing the track a little towards examination. Organizational process assets. This is something you will see on questions in many of the cases, because this particular case or this particular input or output is there in most of the 40 out of 47 majority processes will talk about organizational process assets. I usually call it OPAs so that I don't have to call it by full name. Whatever is developed for your organization and is formal can be called OPA. So if you develop a template, it is your organization's process asset. So it can be called OPA. If you develop from scratch a standard for project management, that is your OPA. If you modify existing standard for the industry, let's say PMBOK is not made for your organization, it's for the entire industry. But what you do is take PMBOK and modify it to suit to your organization. You have OPA there. So what is OPA? Anything that is formally documented or formally made for your organization only is your OPA. So history, what happened on previous projects, lessons learned on previous projects. Then knowledge base, if you have discovered new ways of doing something and documented, that's for your organization, right? SAP, if I have developed a new configuration, it's only, the idea belongs only to my organization. So that is my OPA. Again, let me tell you in short, anything that is formally developed, documented, developed or and documented for your organization is your OPA. Just read the examples there. They are interesting examples. I have one case to discuss. If your organization has requirement collection template, that's your OPA. If your organization has organization chart or WBS chart template for that, that's your OPA. You are managing a construction project in a particular city for the first time. So what you do is have a look at your organization's previous projects in that city so that you get a good feel of it. So the data of previous projects is your OPA. Whatever is formally documented but not your OPA is only one thing. It is the HR. Policies of your HR related records are not part of your OPA. We're talking about people. When we talk about HR, we're talking about people. And people are not assets, process assets. They don't belong. Your organization doesn't own you. So, in that sense, people, policies about people are not part of your OPAs. So again, friends, do have a look at these 7 points and ask me questions. Rohit, you are not muted. So what is your question is what I am asking. Okay, thank you. So again, just please go through this, including the corporate knowledge base, okay? So whatever knowledge related things, if you have developed a new configuration, if you have developed a new way to develop something, if you have found out a new way to create a deliverable, that is your organization's property. So that is your OPA. Do have a look at this. These are examples, nothing more. It doesn't say that these are the only OPAs, okay? This is just giving you examples of what can be your OPAs. So if you manage one project in which there was a certain budget decided signed off budget is budget baseline, cost baseline. Decided signed off schedule is time baseline, schedule baseline. So your baselines from previous projects are also part of your OPAs. Now you realize why you want to look at OPAs? You are managing a new project in a totally new area. Your management wants to know what is going to be your tentative schedule, in how many months can you complete that hotel the customer is asking. That's your management's question. So you will look for similar previous projects in your organization. Check the baselines. Okay, similar hotel to banaya tha ek saal pehle. And how much time did it take at that time? Oh, 18 months. But I have better technology now. Maybe I can complete this in 15 months. That is how I use previous data, previous baselines, etc. So I am waiting here for a minute, half a minute I said, and half a minute is what I'm waiting for, to check if you have any doubts or queries. Of course, when I go ahead also you can ask, not a problem. One more factor is enterprise environmental factors, or EEF. This is, see, OPAs are absolutely objective. They are formally defined for your organization. Whereas enterprise environmental factors, or EEF, is subjective. It talks about culture. It talks about geography, climate, society, the way society reacts, political awareness of the society, instability or stability of the society. So basically we are talking about the environment and how you understand environment. See, if you are working in a politically sensitive area and there is an election going on in that area, and a very popular leader has lost the election. So what is it that you will think about? You will say that, oh my God, this situation might call for safety precautions. See, somebody very popular has suddenly lost the election. This is a politically sensitive area. So pretty likely that riots might come up. I have to take decisions accordingly. If I think like this, actually what I'm using is the EF, environmental factors, enterprise environmental factors. I realize which situation I'm working in. I take into account social and cultural and political impacts and then decide. So that this is not subjective. Okay, I'm sorry, this is not objective. You cannot say that it is very well defined for your organization. No. Anything that is for the society belongs to your EF. So PMBOK, that's a standard for entire project industries, belongs to EF. Your HR policies, resource calendars will belong to EF. Now I have one question for you and I want you to answer in the chat box, or you can raise your hand, that's fine. All of you, I think, should know what is MS Project. MS Project is a ready-made software which helps you managing the projects. Your organization has a licensed copy of MS Project. Where does it belong? EF or OPA? That's my question. If you are using MS Project is a part of what? Your OPAs or your EF? That's my question. Yes, Prasanna.
OPA, man.
What is OPA? Something created for your organization specifically. So when I took PMBOK's example, even if you have a licensed copy of PMBOK, PMBOK is not made for your organization. So PMBOK is not part of your OPA. Same way, if you talk about MS Project, you have a license copy, fine. But PMBOK is, I'm sorry, MS Project is not developed for your organization. So it cannot be your OPAs. If you discussed with Microsoft and made them customize that MS Project for your organization, then yes, then it would be your OPA. But you are using the software as it is. You are using it for your projects, but you are using them as it is. So the functions that your MS Project copy has and the functions that my MS Project copy has are going to be similar if they are same version. So it's not specifically meant for your organization, and that is why that is not part of OPA, it is part of EF. Thank you, Vikram. Like that is one example which will help you differentiate between the two. Okay. Now, what we will do is we'll discuss project stakeholders and success criteria, project team. I guess we don't get too much time to discuss 2.4. Let us see. 2.4 perhaps we can start, but I don't want to complete that. It's something like 20 minutes left. Okay. What is a stakeholder? The rough definition of stakeholder is perception, is what I mean really. Is somebody who is actively involved on projects. That is a real stakeholder for us. Yes, that is a stakeholder. But beyond that, stakeholder is any person, group of persons or organization whose interests can be positively or negatively affected by the project work. Again, a bit of PMBOK English here. What is it saying? It's just saying, take anyone. If he gets impacted by a project, he's a stakeholder. It can be anyone, any organization. Take anyone or any organization. Take any group of people. If they happen to get impacted by the project, they are stakeholders. So now I have, okay, I will read this. We will go through the examples and then I'll ask you one question. What is your first stakeholder? Do you know who's the best or first or prime most stakeholder? Your sponsor. Sponsor is usually someone who pays for the project. So if he decides to stop paying, the project goes for a toss. So yes, he is your prime most or topmost stakeholder. Sorry. Project team. Are they your stakeholders? Yes, they are. They are working with you. In that sense, their interests are getting impacted by your project. If your project was not there, they would not work there, right? So their interests are getting impacted. If you are working in functional organization, let us say that MIS marketing example, then my marketing head, who is a functional manager, functional head, would be my stakeholder. My marketing VP would be my stakeholder. That's a functional manager. Customers and users. I am implementing SAP at Haldiram's Nagpur. So Haldiram's Nagpur is my customer. Everyone working there is a stakeholder for me. People who will directly use SAP in Haldiram's are my stakeholders. In fact, they are my important stakeholders. If I have vendors, if I'm buying things, my vendors are my stakeholders. Sorry. Organizational groups. I'm implementing SAP at Haldiram's. I'm implementing finance, materials management, and production. Only 3 modules, okay? FICO, MM, and SD. Nothing beyond that. I'm sorry, FICO, MM, and PP, production. Are salespeople, sales department, are they my stakeholders? Yes, whatever my production produces finally goes to sales. So departments as a whole can be my stakeholders. Many times they are actually. Government agencies from where I need permissions. I'm constructing that 10-story tower on a land. I need permission from government to construct that 10-story tower. So the agency which gives me permission is my stakeholder. Business partners. Okay. I am working on effluent control projects. So sewage control projects, I have to dig very large pits and my team's life is in danger. So in this case, I always buy life insurance cover for my team. And if I buy from a certain partner agency. They are my business partner. Are they my stakeholders? Obviously, because this project is there, my team needs life cover. Because they need life cover, my business partners are coming into picture. So anyone directly or remotely impacted is your stakeholder. Do you know of any example where a stakeholder who was not directly involved actually caused trouble for the project? Do you know such projects? Are you aware of such projects? Do you know what happened to Nano in Singur? One very important political stakeholder was against it for whatever reasons, and the result was the whole project was a fiasco. If you are aware about Mumbai, there was one flyover to be constructed at a certain area in Pedaro. One single stakeholder very influential stakeholder oppose that flyover because that person says the person loses privacy or there are some other reasons. One single person opposing the total project was fiasco. So it is not that only key stakeholders or prime stakeholders are important. You have to see who can make or break the project and then take your actions accordingly. I know that both these examples were extreme difficult examples and it was not possible for the project manager to handle such situation alone. Now for a question. I'm just saying all of us are staying in Mumbai. Okay, that is an assumption. There is a project being undertaken by one construction agency. They are constructing road from Jammu to Kerala. Let's say Kochi. From Jammu to Kochi, they are constructing a road. The road does not pass through the areas where we are staying. We are staying in some areas like Thane. The road passes through Mumbai, but not somewhere near our house. We are not going to physically travel on that road. Are we stakeholders? A project is being undertaken to construct a road between Jammu to Kochi. I'm asking you, people from Mumbai who may not travel on that road, may not travel. Are they the stakeholders? Yes or no? So if yes, why yes? If no, why no? Maybe there's a diversion. Okay, so you say that people might be using the diversion. Is that so? Possible. So in that case, we would be stakeholders, right? Okay, will we be paying road tax? We will be. So yes, we are stakeholders. We might have friends and relatives who use that road to visit us. We don't use, but they use. We might purchase vegetables and other goods that travel on the road. Maybe that will improve the supply, impact us positively. So yes, we are stakeholders. So point to note here is it doesn't have to be direct participation or direct impact. Indirect impact also could be there. Still, that person or organization is stakeholder. Project governance is usually looked after by PMO, Project Management Office. What is the project governance? They decide how to manage a project successfully. What templates should be used? What should be the success criteria? They define the success criteria for the project. Completion of all the scope in plus or minus 5% of the budget. Completion of all the scope in plus or minus 10% of the pre-decided schedule. So if the schedule was decided as 100 days, you will be considered successful if you close it in 90 days or if you closed it in 110 days. So deciding criteria, deciding how the change request scenario should take place, who should raise here, who should approve, what happens after approval, or deciding issue resolution. How do you document issues? How do you escalate? How do you communicate? So deciding all the things for closing the project successfully is called project governance, usually looked after by the PMO for that office. So friends, project success criteria, this is a homework for you because something we already have discussed actually. These are the entire examples. So I want you to read project success criteria 2.2.3 and 2.2.3 and 2.3. Project team. These two bullet points is what I wanted to read. I want to start with project life cycle. Just quickly check on this diagram and call it a day. Tomorrow again we are going to touch the diagram again. But yes, I still want to do it now because usually doing it twice helps is my experience. So homework here friends. Okay, 2.2.3 and 2.3, just read 2 paragraphs. Project life cycle. So how a project gets initiated, how you start working on the project, how you initiate, how you start planning the work, how you actually start working on the project, how you close the project. So all these 4 encompassed by monitoring and controlling, which is not given there, is project life cycle. How do you start a project? How do you plan the work? How you actually work? And how you finally close. These 4 together is nothing but project life cycle. So now I just want to read this again to emphasize what is PMBOK English. Normally, cost and staffing levels are low at beginning. This is actually pretty straightforward, okay? Rise quickly as and peak as the work begins and then steadies out for a while. Towards the end of the project, it drops quickly. What does it say? Initially, when you start, how much money you have spent? Actually zero when you just begin. So cost is lowest. Then you start spending, maybe you hire a team, that means directly or indirectly you are spending for that resource. So you start incurring cost. Initially, do you have all the team on board? Do you start working with all the team? No, you won't. See, if I need 10 people together, 4 of them for planning and 6 of them for actually working. Planning people will work for about those 4 people will work for 1 week, then those 6 people can actually start creating the deliverables. That's my case. Now tell me, will I like to have all the 10 people with me on day 1? Having those 6 people who are going to create deliverables, they don't have any work on day 1. But if they are on my project, I'm getting billed. I need to pay for them. So I don't want those people unless they have work. So what I'm saying is, staffing is getting people on your project. Low initial. As you go on, staffing level also goes up. My plan is ready. I will have those 6 people. I will ask them to start working. So initially, cost and staffing both are low. Gradually, they start increasing, and as physically the work begins, they rise sharply. After a certain time, you don't need any more members. Whatever members are there, they continue work. So the costs also don't increase. They stay steady. Once the deliverables are getting ready, you don't need those people now. The deliverables are ready. So you remove people. So the staffing comes down sharply. Same thing, once the staffing comes down sharply, budget also will come down sharply. Because those 6 people are gone, you don't need to pay for them. So costing also comes down. Cost curve also slopes down very quickly or the slope is really good slope, big slope. Okay, so this is what is explained in the graph here. Initially, cost and staffing, starting of the project, it is low. It starts increasing. When you are working, again, still it is increasing. See, when you start actually working, creating the deliverables, executing, it increases sharply. After a certain point, you don't need more team members, so it steadies out. And once the deliverables are ready, it drops sharply and quickly. That is how cost and staffing cycles behave on a project. Very low initially, start rapidly as the work begins, steady out for a while, and drop sharply and quickly. So yes, friends, the next curve is not what we are going to see now. 2.4.1.2 risk and cost of changes is something we will see tomorrow. Tomorrow morning session, we will be completing foundational concepts and we will be starting with scope management. Tomorrow, I intend to complete all the scope management, which is a big chapter, by evening. So tomorrow morning, we are meeting at 10 o'clock. We'll be closing the session by 1 o'clock. Again, we will meet at 2 o'clock and close for the day at 5 o'clock. So friends, I want you to be here dot on time tomorrow so that we can complete this and begin, at least go some way. 20% of scope should be completed in the morning. It's a big chapter. Okay, so whatever we have completed today, let me quickly walk you through. We had discussed what is project yesterday. Today we started with what are project constraints. The 6 basic constraints: scope, time, cost, quality, resources, and risk. Six basic constraints we discussed. Then remember that, right? So 6 basic constraints: role of the project manager and relationship between project, program, portfolio. We also discussed the strategic reasons. Okay. Then, what is it? Okay. Project, program, and portfolio. Then, from the second chapter, we began with what is organization culture, what is organization communication, and why it is important. Then we discussed 3 types of organizations: functional, matrix, and projectized. After that, we discussed what is OPA and what is EA. Friends, that is important. Mark it. If you have highlighters, do it immediately. We also checked out what is stakeholders, what is project governance, what is success criteria. I have asked you to read success criteria and project team. We started with life cycle and saw staffing and cost curves. So with that, friends, I'm calling it a day. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock is where we meet. If you have any doubts, even after I switch off my webcam and microphone, I will be logged on for 2-3 minutes. You can type your doubts, you can call me, or you can write a mail to me. So with that, friends, good night and let us meet tomorrow. I am ending the session in about 2 minutes or a little more. So that's it from me. You can log out